What is going on, heads, and welcome to the interview portion of the podcast, the most important portion. I am your czar of NAR, Dustin Peters. I'm here with your coach. More importantly than all of that, we have. I'm trying to think of like a good accolade, but I'm just going to go out and say it. You don't need one. He's the fucking man. It's Wednesday 13, and he's here to talk about everything that's going on this year. How are you, my man?
I'm good. I wish when I get an introduction, I wish I could appear like the Terminator when he first appears, just like a bolt of lightning, just naked and I'm just a little ball. And I just stand up and I just look at the camera and go, let's do this.
You can close your boots on your motorcycle.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, dude. Again, like I said, already formalities aside, we did a little run of show at the top. Appreciate you being here. So let's get down to brass tacks, loosen up a little bit. First of all, it's no small feat. I don't care who you are to put out a whole album, and Mid-Death Crisis coming up, and just a few, like it seems like a few mere days, about a month and some change. By the time it's going to release this recording. First of all, congrats. Always good to see people still continuing to bust their ass and make great music. The tracks that we have available are already, they're kick ass, man. They're uniquely you. So want to come off the top and just say, awesome. Super stoked to hear the rest of the album. And to dig in a little bit, I suppose, because like I said, it's uniquely you. It definitely sounds like Wednesday 13, but you know, it's got the grunge, it's got the heaviness, it's got some stuff that still shows that you've evolved your sound over what feels like forever and a half now, I'm sure. But can you kind of take me through a little bit of, you know, writing and creating? Because I know you play a little guitar to be able to write and create on your own as well, like that. Some of the stuff that came to build this album.
Yeah. Well, I started writing for it last April's when I really kind of sat down and all right, because I knew I was going to go in the studio in the summer, so I was going to take a few months to write and put this all together. So this was the first album since 2000, probably 2012, that I didn't have my longtime guitarist Ramon alongside me. He's sort of been my musical director for the last decade or more. And so for this album, he wasn't there. And you know, my first three albums, I did everything pretty much. Or my first four albums, I pretty much did everything myself. And so I went back to that mindset, and it was kind of scary at first because I haven't really thought about doing that. And then I can always give myself a anxiety attack, just overthinking, like just for this interview, what hat will I wear? I'm melt down over nothing. So, but I just went, you know what? Like, and then I kind of took it as a challenge, like a fun challenge, and went, you know, I did my first album in my basement in North Carolina, right after Murder Dolls came off tour. I had no band. I just had the thought. I had the idea in my head, and I wrote songs, and I created what I think is probably my best album. The first one I did. There's so many songs on there that connected with the fans that they love. So I went, I wonder if I could do it again. So I went back and grabbed my guitar, and I started playing, and I started writing these songs, and they sort of just came naturally. And I think they naturally had that old school sound to it. But now, you know, it's me with some influence and you know, I didn't stay, you know, tunnel visioned on the same sound. You know, I've incorporated stuff in my last few records that were in borderline industrial or heavy metal or whatever, you know. So I like to explore all that stuff. So there's still a little bit of the element of maybe a little industrial here, a bit, maybe. Someone said that. I don't necessarily hear that because there's no keyboards on it. But The Devil Commands, the first single, that's about as heavy metal as the record gets, and the rest of it is pretty much a kind of a straight ahead hard rock record.
That's exciting to hear, honestly, from someone who's been a fan of yours for a while, to be honest. Actually, I didn't want to bring this up now, but it seems to be the best spot for it. You were actually the last show that I was able to play. I played with you on a bill out in Lincoln, Nebraska, right before COVID started. So it was one of the last shows. So it's kind of sour to think about that way, but I'll never forget it because beyond getting to play with you and the 69 Eyes, that was that tour. It was something that, you know, it's stapled in from just the time frame that it was in. But I guess what I wanted to say is, as a fan of yours and someone who's got to like, see the evolution and listen to you and play with you and all that kind of stuff, it's to hear that's single that's out is one of the heavier things that's going to be available. I like, we're heavy metal dudes, we're death metal dudes, like we're thrash metal guys too, but like, I love just a good straight fucking driving hard rock song. And if you don't, I don't know what you're doing here. And I think that the many hats that you wear is probably one that you could really add on more than anything else is your songs are uniquely you, but they still really drive forward that good hard rock sound. And to hear that there's more of that on the album excites me quite a bit. Is there anything you would say is maybe a little bit of an outlier besides that on the album at all?
No, I just, like you said, you like the hard rock stuff that I do. And for me, like, when we went into COVID, you brought up that show, when we went into COVID, the world shut down, everybody dealt with it in their own way. And, I got to kind of reflect back on my history a bit. I got to go back and sit down and take a break and look at it and see where I was at then and where I started, and just went, whoa, there's a lot going on there, And when I came out of COVID and stuff, the world had changed. I had changed, and I just saw things a little differently. And I just started chasing the past a bit more, because I felt like that was what I did the best. And this, like I said, I love all the stuff I've done. My last 3 records have been, I guess, more experimental, but this is more back home where it's natural for me. Like, I am a hard rock, what people call hair metal dude. Like, I could, if there was a Jeopardy TV show about hair metal and trivia, I would be that guy that never lost.
The Ken Jennings of hair metal.
Yes, that would be me. And I love that style of music. Kiss, Motley Crue, Alice Cooper, Twisted Sister, Wasp. That is what I still listen to. It's what I grew up on. It was brand new to me in the 80s. I'm an 80s kid. And, and that's what I love. And that's what I listened to before the show, after the show. So when I made this record, I went, I want to make a record that sounds like the stuff I listen to. And I did, because I hear everything that I just named on this record. I hear Kiss, I hear Twisted Sister, I hear Wasp, I hear Alice Cooper, I hear the Damned, I hear, there's so much. I brought in all my influences, and it shows, and I love it. I'm really proud of this record. My last record, I love my last record too, but coming out of COVID, I just was not where I am now mentally. So this album is revenge for me.
So you guys kind of fit into this genre that I call monster mash metal. It's
a good name. I like that better than horror punk. I think we need a new name for it.
Hey, you can use it. I won't charge you. That's all you. But I put certain bands into that genre, and to me, they have to fit multiple sounds and aesthetics. And the long and short of it is, it's music that you could put on and watch like an old black and white monster movie, or old like 80s slasher movies, or anything that you could see in a drive-through back in the day. It's like you guys, a little bit of Zombie, a splash of Power Man, and like Doyle is a big one. I think his solo stuff kind of fits that genre. I don't think we have enough of it. I think
there's not a lot, and that's why it's so difficult for me to tour with bands, because nobody knows where to put us. And that has been a problem for Murder Dolls. It's been a problem for me, but I just, it's a unique thing, I guess, because there's not a lot of it.
I would say it's a good problem to have, though, because at least you fit. You have your zone. Everyone knows, okay, that's Wednesday 13 territory. Like, we're not going to drive over there without permission. You know what I mean? Like, that's your hub.
I created a sound and a unique thing that I do. Like one of my close friends who always checks out the early, rough mixes of the record, and she's seen me go through a million different band members and lineups, and she heard the first couple songs, and she was like, "Wow, it still sounds like you. It still it always sounds like you. How does it always sound like you?" And I'm like, that's crazy. I never thought about that. It does. No matter what, I've always made it sound like me, whether it was we were borderline on like heavy metal or whatever. It still got my stamp on there.
Oh yeah. Well, speaking of, again, it's hard to, I'm sure it's maybe a lot of it whenever we ask this question is because it's, it's sometimes it's like executive, sometimes it's labels, sometimes it's name it. But you've built a pretty cool looking tour coming up. So if you want to talk about the tour a little bit that we have going on, it starts a week from today as far as recording goes. But by the way, everybody, I mean, like looks like 50 freaking dates all the way across the spring, almost back to back nights.
37 shows. And the reason we kind of do that is because touring is so expensive. So if we broke that up, so 37 show, we break it up. What is that? 17 shows. That's kind of not even worth to go out for 3 weeks, getting everyone together. So when we do it, we just go, let's just try to knock it out. And as many days as that looks like, you see, that's a lot of days. That's 37 shows. And that doesn't count the travel days, travel back, all of that. And you'll read our comments on our pages when we announce dates, and there'll still be someone going, "Why aren't you coming to my town?"
Yeah. There's no avoiding that shit, I don't think. But unfortunately.
So I'm like, how many states are there? All right. How many shows are we playing? All right. Do the math there. Do some driving. I'll guarantee you we're driving further than you.
Yeah, just straight up to bring you the shit too. Yeah, that is something I think that a lot of people don't think about, especially when you get to the upper echelon where you're like, you really got a lot of merch, and merch is where you still make money at all levels and stuff like that. It's
merch and VIPs is how we make a living. It's not off the guarantees, and a lot of in the USA for us, a lot of people wait till the very last day to buy tickets and walk up, and I'm watching ticket sales driving into town going, oh God. So scary times, but that's kind of always been like that. Rock and roll's never been a safe place. So whatever.
It the bands that you're bringing with you, I would say I will admit ignorance when I have it. I've heard of Stitched Up Heart, but I don't know of Dead Rabbit or Ayatoya, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I believe there's support for your tour that's coming, and you said it's kind of hard, like sometimes like putting your guys' self on a tour, but where you're headlining and you're playing albums in full, and there's kind of already a shtick, if you want to put it that way, so you can follow that line. Is that easier or harder, or how did you come up with where are these bands from, and how did you guys grab these ones? If it's not as difficult coming that way, hopefully, when you already know what you're doing.
I try to put together a cool package. Like some people don't even care. Some people let their booking agent fill up the whole bill, and they don't even meet the bands, or some people don't care. Some people look at this as a job. I look at this as totally different than a lot of artists do. And I also try to put myself on the other side of the stage. If I'm coming to a show, would I want to see this band? Would this entertain me? Also, I don't want to see Wednesday 13 3 times before you see Wednesday 13. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not 1,000. I love that if I've influenced someone, that's awesome, but I don't need to see those kind of bands. So I try to pick bands that look appealing or sound appealing. Maybe I'm not necessarily but like Stitched Up Heart, they've got a killer look, they've got a killer sound. It's not Wednesday 13, but it's in my world. We swim in the same waters. Dead Rabbits band, I wasn't familiar with them either, but it features Craig, the vocalist of the band Escape the Fate. Oh. This is his side project. I guess he's been doing it for a while. I'm learning more about it. I was actually able to go in the studio with them and record a track that's out now called Hellscape that you can hear on my Spotify and their Spotify as well. We did that just kind of to promote the tour, and it's really cool sounding. Like I don't know it. I think the imagery, people are going to be pretty blown away by it. It looks interesting. It looks like he's wearing like this rabbit mask, this clay looking devil rabbit mask. It's pretty odd. So you've got that visually. And then Ayatoya is she's a female artist. I believe she's maybe from Canada. I'm not sure. But it's a one person show, and it's a kind of goth industrial thing. So there's an element of just there's atmosphere at our show here. There's not like I think there's a little something for everybody there, and all the bands are individual for themselves, and there's not just a copy because that can happen. Sometimes people want to put the same sounding thing on it. I like to put people that are in the same world, not necessarily in the same place.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense to me. Because I know that, well, like I said, we're death metal guys, and like if you go to a death metal show, like it's generally just like 5 extreme metal bands of some sort, and and that's also because I think that maybe it is what they're doing to help the fans, because a lot of the fans, when you're into that level of like extreme metal, then it's like, I don't want to hear anything lighter than that, or I don't want to hear a bunch of electronics, and like then you're fighting an uphill battle. But I think that when you aren't like super pigeonholed or like super niche and you're making just a good ass hard rock song, that does allow for some brevity to move around and do what you need to do to make the best package just be entertaining first and foremost, like you said. And that's something that I can certainly say that you guys do very, very well. So like it's always entertaining to watch you guys.
Well, I'm glad that
it's a show. I mean, people are going to spend their time to leave their house and come to a show, you know, like even like I'm dressed. This is my morning look right now. You know, like when I go on stage, I'm ready. I've become a character and stuff. You know, this is important to me. I want to give people a show. I spent my whole early days, you know, wanting to become this. And if I ever got the opportunity to give people a show, I was going to do it. Whether it's in a club or an arena or whatever, you're gonna leave remembering our show.
And I think there's something to be said about that nowadays. Like, I've been to millions of concerts, and I feel like I don't like it when they're just concerts. You know, I spent my money that I earned to go watch a show. And when I say show, I think I'm talking more in your terms, like theatrics. And I want, it's the little things that change, even the lineup, crafting that experience. Everything matters. Everything is just a little pinpointed thing that adds up to one big experience. And the experience itself, it's a very valuable thing. Like, I can't tell you how many concerts I've been to that I don't remember, because the music was good, and it is all the same, and things were hype, you know, and it was a fun time, but there was no sense of showmanship. There was no theatrics. There was no any of that. So it just kind of went over my head. But you know, the ones that I remember are the shows where, you know, maybe the front man does some crowd work, or maybe there's an overall theme to the show, or it can be a lot of different things, I feel like, that make that crafted experience. But it's really important that I think the bands have that mindset as well when they're going out on tour, is, you know, every single night we're putting on a show. We're not just up here playing our music, you know.
It counts. I mean, I'm from a small town in North Carolina where I grew up. And, you know, when shows came to my town, and I went to club shows, and most of the bands I was into, wasn't a lot of people at the shows, you know. And I remember most of those bands that I saw, you know, I can't think of many that weren't, but they were all on point. They were killer. And I left that venue, you know, and I put their cassette back in my car, because it was cassette days. And I enjoyed that record even more because I reimagined watching it live, and it just made it better. But there were shows where I saw bands that didn't do that for me. And that music, when I heard it again the next time, all I was reminded of was, oh man, what a letdown. This was awesome. And that, you know, got to take it. And like you said, it's a showmanship thing. For me, I like my concert to be like it's a carnival. You're bringing people in the front door. Here's your first attraction. It's the opening band, and blah, we're going to knock your socks off of that. And here's the second one. Here's the third one. And here's the main attraction. I'm your ringleader, ladies and gentlemen. And we're the big roller coaster that takes you screaming down into the fun house, and we spit you out at the end. You're like, I want to do it again.
Yeah.
Again, you know, that is, again, I have nothing but positive things to say about your guys' live sets. It's always blown me away. And I've seen you about three times, played with the once, and then like seen two other times on two separate tours. So like it's evolved, and you've grown obviously just with every artist at every level, and things change year by year too. And especially like you said with COVID.
It does. I feel better. I think I'm a better front man than I was probably the last time you saw me, just this last year and a half, going out and playing these Murder songs and just all over the world, and just I don't know, I had such a good time, and I became a better front man. We started using an in-ear system, which I've never used before, which just changed the game for me as far as like controlling my voice and able to just, I don't know, it's literally like why did I wait this long to use these? My punk rock heart would not let me do it, and I finally did it. It's like, hey, you could eat with your hands, but try this spoon. So yeah, that's what it
Finally
was
got
like.
that soon.
Yeah, changed my world.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the in-ear system is definitely something like, I started fiddling with it as well and realized that I've been a big dum-dum. Fighting an uphill fucking battle.
Our band just got better. We all went to in-ears on this last tour, and we've got we're all on the same unit, and we can just control it. And it just going into a venue every day and knowing that we've got control of that changes the game too. Either that's a whole other tech story, but yeah, man, it really changed the game, and everyone's excited to play because we can all hear ourselves now.
And really individualize that sound on stage. So then, yeah, it takes the guesswork out of a lot of that shit. And I do think that it's kind of funny too, because I mean, like, if even from like the smallest to the largest, no matter who you are, that really hasn't been something that, in especially like heavy metal or rock, has really been used. I know pop and all sorts of guys have always had like the little, like the side scrolling microphone and like an in-ear system, but in heavy metal, it just never really has been a thing. But
right,
it seems to have changed quite a bit of people's perspectives on a lot of. I sound like that.
Right.
Can you tell me? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I think one of the main themes that we're hearing here is, you have grown a lot as an artist. It's easy to tell that, but I think what's also just as important as your growth and your evolution is that you stayed true to yourself, and that you got to come back full circle with this new piece of work and really do it yourself. And that can be a scary thing, when you have a partner you're relying on for certain things and then they're not there. It can be, some say, earth-shattering or very intimidating, but I think it speaks to your creativeness that you were able to come back and do this all like you did the first time again. And not only do it like the first time, but better with all of the lessons that you've learned. So I'm excited to hear this album. I can't tell you. I was jamming to this first track here before we got on, and I always do that before we do interviews. I'll listen to it, but then the day of, I like listening to it so I can have that fresh perspective.
Today I listened to the album again for the first time. I haven't listened to it in a while because I just was burnt out. And once I got it mixed and done, I was like, all right, I'm giving this thing a break because I just overanalyze everything. And I came back with fresh ears on it, and I listened to it today, and it just I still like it. There isn't one song on the record that I didn't like. It was hard to make a track listing. It was hard to put those songs at the very end because I like the ones at the very end as much. The last three I like as much as the first three on the album. And I've never ever had that happen before. It's a crazy thing. Like I just all the songs have there's a point to all the songs, and there's a point to listen to the record from beginning to end, because it ends. Even if you listen to it on vinyl, there's a side one, there's a side two. I made the songs fade in and out. Like it's an old school experience, and because that's just what I do. And I've already got my advanced copy of it.
Nice.
And man, it turned out killer. The artwork, the packaging on it, we went, like for me, I was that kid that would get a cassette, come home from the record store and just sit there and just read the whole thing, and just I wanted more and more. So I gave my fans more and more and more. It's 24 pages of awesomeness in this thing, and I did everything 100%. The imagery, the videos, the recording, the mixing, the mastering had to be 100%, and I did it all on this record.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude, that rules. And especially because of everything is being so digital, and that makes sense, but also, you still have your physical releases, but to do the due diligence of like really giving that 20-page pamphlet basically in there. Like, I love that shit, dude. I love opening up old CD cases and like seeing the special thank yous and stuff.
It's the best thing. It's just a lot of, because there's people that still do that. There's still people that do that. I don't think it's a lost thing. It's just not as it's just not as popular anymore. And people have lost sight of physical product. I mean, I didn't use AI for any of this shit. It was a real artist who did a sketch, and we worked on ideas together. And it's a cool record. And also, I don't ever usually get too personal or anything, but this is sort of like a look at me from 100 years from now. If I was dead, I was undead and I was still trying to get dressed for this interview. I'm just trying to put my lipstick on one last.
What hat am I gonna wear?
Yeah. So, and it's funny because like I'm 48 now. I turned 49 in August. I'll be 50 next year. So the whole record, everything was just going, man, you know, I didn't think I'd make it into my 30s. Here I am approaching 50, and I'm just kind of laughing. I'm laughing my way to the grave now. Let's just, as the English say, taking the piss. And that's what mid-death crisis is, you know. It's fun. I'm having fun celebrating, you know, this one trip around the sun. So,
hell yeah,
doing it right, my dude. I did want to ask because it was something that when we were doing the research and then obviously like looked on your page and you brought it up is. You kind of already answered the question. It was the Hellscape thing where it's you said you kind of did that with the guy from Escape the Fate to do a tour package, like to promote it. But I noticed there's a boatload of other features on there, and it gets real heavy, it gets real light. Like I said, now that I'm knowing the Dead Rabbits on your tour, this is making a lot more sense. But I still want to ask you a little bit about like what it was like to create that and like be able to do a collaboration album this day and age, something that's probably a little bit unique for what you've done.
It was a different thing, and it made me realize instantly just how different my music is versus what a modern production recording would be. Not that I'm not recording modernly, but like what is considered like newer music, and that's kind of what Escape the Fate or we're doing with this the Dead Rabbits track. It's not the standard rock and roll kind of formula that my songs have. And there's like growls and deep, you know, it's a different type of thing. So when I went in, I'd heard the track a couple times. I'd listened to it, just kind of what he was singing on the parts just to get it in my head. And I just went to the studio and just went, I'll figure it out in the studio. Like I didn't overthink it. And the coolest thing, and there was, I mean, I was going to do the track anyway, but the icing on the cake was the producer on the track is a guy named Howard Benson, who's did like, you know, he's got platinum plaques on his house from My Chemical Romance and all these huge bands.
Nice.
But I don't know him for that. I know him for doing all these hair metal records that I have. And so I was like, I can record with Howard Benson, I can name 10 of these obscure bands that he did from the 80s. And when I got to the studio and went into his house and we just talked about hair metal and stuff. And then Stitched Up Heart shows up to record. And then they start talking about the newer bands because I don't know anything. I'm saying I don't know anything, but I don't know much about My Chemical Romance and that kind of stuff. Sure. And then I found out that all these bands had recorded there, like Chester from Linkin Park had recorded in his vocal booth, and all these famous, like that's where he recorded all this stuff. And so I went in going, wow, I'm in a pretty famous vocal booth here. I better not suck. And he just sort of went, all right, Wednesday, just do what you do. And I went, okay. And I did what I did. And he was like, stop the playback. And he was like, that's killer, man. Your range is amazing. Wow. Keep going. Do it again. And I was like, wow, Howard Benson likes what I did. And I just gave me some confidence and I just laid down my stuff. And so it's unique what I do. And Mixie from Stitched Up Heart, her voice is so killer on this. And I told her, I said, let's not copy each other. You do your thing. I'll do my thing. Greg's doing his thing. I'll guarantee you it's all going to work. And it did. And so it's a cool thing, you know, and I was lucky to, you know, to be asked to do that. And it's something cool for my fans. And I've got several collaboration tracks in the pipeline for this year and next year with other bands. And just keep doing what I do. I love making music. And when people want to approach me for different stuff, if it seems cool to me, I'll do it.
That's awesome, man. Like again, that's a true artist in you. Is to be able to have the trust. It's very Wu Wei. Let it happen. Let it do your thing. It's gonna happen. I promise it's gonna work out. But no, that absolutely rules. I can go on for days. I don't want to take up too much of your time today, man. But I do want to ask as well, because we love asking this kind of stuff. We're all collectors, and you've said a few times you're an 80s baby. And I would be remiss to not notice some of the stuff behind you, man. You're playing He-Man on the TV, you got a boatload of cool ass action figures. We are all like, again, when you're building a streaming setup, you put all your cool little shit around you anyways, don't get me wrong, but like, you seem like a big comic book guy. You seem like you're probably into a lot of like again, he said the Monster Mash kind of shit. Now I want to say that it's like a genre of things you'd be into. Like I said, what is some of the coolest shit you got behind you back there? Like, what are some of your favorites? Maybe not the most expensive, but your favorite shit.
No, I mean, this stuff is like behind me, this particular, I kind of have little themed stuff all through my house. This particular behind me is mainly this is the early 80s wall, which is all G.I. Joe and He-Man. And if you'll see behind me, like all this stuff here is they're just figures. Like I have them displayed the same way you would see them in a store.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid, there was nothing. I still have dreams about going into department stores as a kid and just looking through these things, just flipping through like, man, where's Skeletor? But he would always be in the back if you found him. And it was, so whenever I was displaying all this stuff, because I'm a collector, and I just like, you know what? I was like, it'd be really cool if I made it look the way it looked to me walking into a store. So if I could walk into a store and go, this is mine, that would have been the ultimate dream. Well, now it is mine. I made it look like that, and it's in my house. And so this is stuff that influences me as much as the music. Like I am a 80s kid. This was brand new to me. I could go into the store and see these things fresh, and G.I. Joe behind me. That was a show I couldn't wait to get home from school to watch. And I analyzed G.I. Joe and their characters and their even the dress code for the bad guys. That's where I get most of my clothing and outfit ideas from. They're all all the bad guys. I could show you probably in here. There's my latest outfit is probably this guy right here, the Destro, the main, like the red and black stuff is all this guy. So instead of a gun, I got a microphone.
Yeah,
it's like, but this is sort of this could be a Wednesday 13 outfit right here.
Hell yeah, dude. I love that you're taking inspiration from stuff like that, for sure.
I've always done that. That's where I get the ideas for the clothing and stuff. And I think that's what got me into rock and roll, because I related to these toys, and they were like a gang. And when I started seeing bands, I saw that uniform. I went, oh, because that's why I was into all those bands that had the image. They were part of a thing. So it makes sense. If you had to do a detective investigation on how I became, it starts from this. But this stuff keeps me, it's my fountain of youth. And I have this all through my house. You go on the other side of this wall, it's a whole other thing. Indiana Jones, $6 Million Man, just Alien, everything. And it turns into all the classic Universal monsters, Frankenstein, Dracula, and it's a nonstop thing here at my place. But
I'm pretty sure that you guys would be best friends.
we get along, trust me. We probably love the same shit, to be honest. That's awesome, dude.
It's all in that world to me,
Hell yeah. Yeah, and it's really important to bring those worlds together. And I think that you're able to do that. That's 10 times cooler, man. I respect the hell out of you for that. That's so cool. But before we let you go, Wednesday, is there anything you want our listeners to know?
I just say thank you for all the support. I've been doing this a long time, and I can't do it without my fans. And I've got my old school fans there. I'm making new fans all the time. So new records coming out soon. Check it out, and check out my tour dates. Come see me. Come and see this guy. I want to dress up and do a show for you.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna come into one of your shows. I'm gonna dress up like a G.I. Joe guy and see if you notice.
I will absolutely notice. So.
You see a guy in a Destro cosplay, and you're like, "What the fuck?"
That was my idea.
One time, we had a bald merch guy, and I painted his head silver. It was great.
That's awesome.
That does rule, man. Well, everybody listening, again, we've said it once, but we'll say it again. You got to go see these guys live. Their music's great, but as they've said a few times, he's a true showman, and I can definitely vouch firsthand on that. The tour starts on March 14th in Vegas, and there's even some Canadian dates in there. You're hitting the whole freaking country, 37 nights or so, you said, or so.
Yes, 37.
And it's and it's been billed as there's no such thing as Monsters tour, as far as I'm aware. You're playing a full Murder Dolls set, celebrating a big 20-year anniversary.
Actually, we're playing a best of Murder Dolls set, but you also get a best of my first album set. You get a best of Murder Dolls, and you get sprinkled in the new songs.
Oh, that's so cool.
You're getting all
Such
of
a
it.
good
You know?
record.
Yeah, you get all of it.
That's so cool. What a show. Well, thank you again, Wednesday, and thank you guys for listening to another episode of Metal Massacre, the only podcast that's not afraid to go there. Get out and be good people.